So are we ready to start, or we wait for some time?
Sir, your voice is breaking, sir.
Yeah, is it audible better now?
Yes, sir.
Sir, there is a network issue, sir. Like your voice is not clearly audible, sir.
No, it should not be. I mean, Priyadharshini, can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir, I can hear you properly, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. We can begin, sir. Good evening, everyone. As artificial intelligence continues to evolve, we are forced to ask a profound question: is agency still an exclusively human trait? This evening, we confront this query head-on. A very good evening to our esteemed guests, faculty members, research scholars, and students. Welcome to the day 4 of the 7-day National Workshop on Exploring Posthumanism, Interdisciplinary Perspectives and Debates, organized by the Department of English, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Kattankulathur. Today, we have the distinct honor of hosting Dr. M.D. Monirul Islam, an associate professor in the Department of English at Presidency University, Kolkata. Professor Islam's scholarship is deeply engaged with the cross-cultural encounters between Europe and South Asia, especially within the context of early 19th century. His doctoral dissertation on the Eastern connection of the British Romantic poets was the foundation for his monograph, Oriental Bells, the Early Romantic Poets and their Eastern Muse, published by the Bloomsbury Academic in 2020. A key area of his research also concerns the post-human and the Anthropocene. In several published works, he has explored post-humanist thought from a unique post-colonial location. His role as the co-editor of the book Posthumanism and India, a critical cartography published in 2024, marks another important intervention in this field. His active engagement in the academic community is evident through his role as a founder member of the Indian Posthumanism Network, IPN, and as a member of the British Association of the Romantic Studies, PARS. His other interests are equally diverse, including travel and walkability studies and minor literatures in Bangla. Today, Professor Islam will be enlightening us with his presentation titled Artificial Intelligence and the Question of Agency. We are truly honored to have him with us. Please join me in extending a warm virtual welcome to Professor M.D. Monirul Islam, sir. The stage is all yours, sir. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Suryakanth, for your very, very generous introduction. Okay, so, and good afternoon to you all. I'm very, very thankful to the organizers for inviting me to speak in this workshop. Now, it has been going on for some time now, I guess, and therefore you have a fair idea or some idea regarding, the different dimensions of posthumanism. So today I'm going to talk about the question of agency and artificial intelligence, right? Now, for this presentation, I'll be using some slides. So give me please a minute or two to share the slides with you. I hope it will work, and if it doesn't, please let me know if there is an issue, right? So I hope it is visible to you. Is it fine? Yeah, and yeah, I'm audible as well to you. Fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you. So, yeah. So, this is what we are going to talk about today. I mean, the issue of artificial intelligence and the question of agency. Now, I will primarily concentrate on the question of the agency of the intelligent machines. I mean, whether intelligent machines can have agency. But you can understand that this question of agency of the intelligence agencies, intelligent machines or artificial intelligence is very much related to the question of human agency, right? So a related question is that what happens to the human agency in the age of artificial intelligence, right? Now, And another related question, I mean, as a post-humanist thinker, or, this workshop is about post-humanism. So another question is, the agency of the non-humans, as there is a major thrust on the agency of the non-humans. So another related, thread of discussion would be what happens to the post-anthropocentric rethinking of agency with the advent of artificial intelligence, right? So these are going to be major issues for me. And in this lecture, I will not theorize much. Rather, I'll try to open up the nature of the emerging discourses on the question of AI agency, especially with reference to pop science, I mean popular science, and science fiction literature, or science fiction in general when it comes to India. And it may be in the South Asian context, fine? So this is what we are going to do today. Now, when you think of the question of agency in the post-humanist context, or question of agency in post-humanist discourses, then it has two basic dimensions, or two basic paradigms. One is that it redefines agency altogether, and the other is it proposes extension of the existing notion of agency to the non-human life and matter and machines. Okay, so both are, say, political or ethical move premised on a critique of humanism and human exceptionalism. Fine. Now, to begin with the first paradigm, that is, defined as the new materialist paradigm of post-humanism, or we can say the new materialist rethinking of agency for our convenience. Now, you can understand that this new materialist approach is a more radical departure from the humanist order of things, as it advocates redefinition of agency in non-humanistic terms, right? Dissociating agency from, say, the notion of intentionality and subjectivity. Now, in this context, I have put in here some of the books that I have read in recent times, and say the likes of Jane Bennett, Karen Barrett, Latour and Michael Callan, along with Alain Mostachi and multiple other people, what they are trying to do, or what they have tried to do since the 1980s, that they have altogether tried to come up with a different notion of agency by doing away with the, say, distinction between the subject and the object that is presupposed in Enlightenment modernity or Enlightenment modernist, say, episteme. So in this, say, rethinking of agency, restructuring of the notion of agency, agency is considered as distributive, and it is constituted intraactively, fine? So according to this view, all matters, humans, non-human entities, constitute agency interactively, and all are actors in a network of relations, or in an agential network, we can say. Fine. So therefore you can understand, if we go by this notion, then machines or intelligent machines already have agency. Fine. So, with the present lecture, in this present lecture, we are not going to talk about this materialist or new materialist approach to the question of agency. However, I begin with a reference to this because you can understand that any discussion on the notion of agency cannot start without a reference to this, especially in the post-humanist context, right? So what I'm going to do in this lecture, I'm going to take up the more, say, general, standard, conventional sense of the term agency and deliberate on the discourses that consider extending agency to the intelligent machines. This questioning of human agency obviously is different, you can understand, from the earlier approach, an materialist approach, because here the traditional notion of agency is not challenged, right? Only the notion of the human as the sole owner or the main owner of agency stands challenged, right? Now, in this standard philosophical term, you can understand that, an entity or entities that can have intentions to act and can, on the basis of that, perform an action is considered to be an agent, right? Now, this notion of agency is connected to, say, moral or ethical considerations, or say, moral philosophy, moral agency, in other words. And as Floridi and Sanders, in their very important essay on the morality of artificial intelligence, points out that moral considerations generally involve moral agents or entities that can in principle qualify as sources of moral action, and moral peasants or entities that can in principle qualify as recipients or receivers of moral action. So all moral agents normally qualify as moral peasants, but not vice versa, right? Now, you know that who or what deserves moral or ethical consideration has been one of the central questions in moral philosophy through ages. Traditionally, debates over moral agency and moral peasancy have been limited to the other humans, means human of humanism or human in the humanist discourse is not one category. There have been always multiple categories of humans and all not qualifying as, say, full agents, right? Or having full agency. And despite the fact that this category of ethical human subject has undergone countless transformations, humans have occupied the privileged center, say, in ethical debates. However, as we know that this privileged ethical agency of the humans has been on a sliding scale in recent times. And there are several reasons behind this, right? And in the next slide, I'm trying to point to some of these, issues. One reason is that this human agency has been on a sliding scale is the fact that since the beginning, you can say, of post-colonial, say, thinking or the post-structuralist theories, we have discovered that humanism as a discourse has failed in a sense, and it has a lot of limitations, right? So, from post-colonialism to post-humanism, it has exposed these limitations of humanism. And so it has been done by, say, the feminist and the animal studies scholars, and obviously the anti-humanist scholars as well. So here you can see this questioning of the human of humanism, right? It has been central to the theoretical debate, you can say, of the last 40 or 45 years, if not earlier. So it has been one of the reasons of humans, the notion of agency connected to the humans alone losing some ground. Secondly, the debates around the Anthropocene is a major reason. The debate around the Anthropocene, as you know, exposed the problematic nature, or what we can say, the toxic nature of,
When OpenAI developed GPT, when
Sorry, just the slide wrongly got to the next stop. So fine. So the second is the challenge posed by the Anthropocene. As I said that Anthropocene has revealed the problematic or toxic nature of human agency on Earth, and it has led to an increasing demand for ethical treatment of non-human life. Right? While animal ethics has a long history, as you know, the plants, the environment, and the planet itself now, demanding to be considered ethical treatment. Right? And another very important challenge, and which is the topic of our discussion today, is to the privileging of the human agent is posed by the developments in the field of AI and robotics. Fine. Intelligence has remained had always remained a major marker for distinguishing humans from both non-human animals and machines. Fine. Now, you may recall, René Descartes at the beginning of the Enlightenment comparing animals to automata, or defining animals as automata. So, creating a parallel between animals and machines. Fine. So stupid machines, you can say, and you can say within quotes, stupid machines, dumb animals, once again within quotes, and don't forget dumb humans, right? Within quote, have not been considered historically as non-agents, or not considered as agents. They have been denied full access to agency. Especially if you think of some humans have been denied agency. Just recall the history of, say, slavery or colonialism. You can think of this, or you can get multiple examples of this. So what is happening with the new age machines, are providing a challenge when it comes on the front of, or on the issue of how intelligence has been used to deny agency to the others. And these new age machines are with intelligence, as it is said, equal to the human, or that might surpass the intelligence of the humans, whether that can, enter the domain of agency or protect the domain of agency. That question has become very, very important. Fine? And this is what concerns our discussion today. The principal matter of contemplation, as you can understand, is how to treat a machine that has human level of intelligence, a very high level of cognition for that matter. Because the machine in question makes the distinction between human and non-human, or say human and mecha, redundant. Fine? Now, keeping this in mind, I think we should take a very quick look at, say, AI, artificial intelligence, and the different kinds of artificial intelligence that scientists, both, say, researchers who are engaged in the field and those who are writers of popular science or pop science are talking about this. But before going into this, I would just like you to watch a very small clip as a part of, conceiving or understanding the nature of artificial intelligence. Fine? And I have titled this slide, "The Find That Lies Like Truth." You can also say, "The Find That Lies Like Humans." Fine. So let us listen to it for just maybe a minute and a half.
When OpenAI developed GPT-4, like 2 years ago,
I think it is audible to you.
when OpenAI developed GPT-4, like 2 years ago, they did all kinds of tests. What can this thing do? So one of the tests they gave GPT-4 was to solve CAPTCHA puzzles. That when you access a web page, a bank or something, and they want to know if you're a human being or you're a bot, so you have these twisted letters and symbols. And
You guys all know this. This is
yeah.
there are the 9 squares, and it says which one has something with 4 legs in it. And you see the animal, and you
These
click
kind
the
of
animal.
things, yeah. And GPT-4 couldn't solve it. But GPT-4 accessed TaskRabbit, which is an online site where you can hire people to do all kinds of things for you. And, these captchas were developed so humans can solve them, but AI still struggle with them. So it wanted to hire a human to solve the problem for it. Now, and this is where it gets interesting, the human got suspicious. The human asked, why do you need somebody to solve your CAPTCHA puzzles? Are you a robot? And at that point, GPT-4 said, no, I'm not a robot. I have a vision impairment, which is why I have difficulty with these CAPTCHAs.
So it knew how to lie.
It had basically theory of mind on some level. It knew what, there's so many different explanations and lies you can tell. It told a very, very effective lie. It's the kind of lie that, okay, vision impairment, I'm not going to ask any more questions about it. I will just take the word of GPT-4 for it. And nobody told it to lie, and nobody told it which lie will be most effective. It learned it. The same way that humans and animals learn things by interacting with the world.
Okay, so see, I wanted to share this clip with you. This is Harari, one of the pop science writers from Israel, and see, he's talking about an AI that is a factor today. You have all interacted with ChatGPT-4. Now, you can see this, how this machine or how this algorithm actually works, and how, this particular example shows that it's very difficult to differentiate between a human and an algorithm. Fine. Now, remember that that ChatGPT-4 or whatever AI we have today, as far as public knowledge is concerned, is what you can call the narrow AI. Fine. Artificial narrow intelligence, or the weak AI. Okay. But what the scientists are working on, as you know, is the artificial general intelligence, right? Which will be stronger, and at some level it will surpass, or it will equal human intelligence and also surpass human intelligence. So there will be a point of what in technological term is referred to as the moment of singularity. So there will be this moment of singularity. Fine. Now if ChatGPT-4 can do this, you can think that what will happen or what can happen when there is, this moment of singularity, when there is this development of artificial general intelligence, or say ASI, artificial superintelligence. Fine. So now you might say that, sir, weak AI is a science fact. So when we are talking about singularity, or when we are talking about artificial general intelligence, then we are talking about science fiction, right? Now to just address this question, what is science fact, or how far it is a science fact and how far it is a science fiction, let me just consider a few top science writers, right? And very briefly. Now, if we think of the global context, then you might have heard of the names of the likes of Hans Moravec, and these two books are by Moravec that you can see here. Now, Moravec, he's a robotist. He works in this field, and he has made a prediction along with many others, obviously, as you can see. We'll see in the next slide. This man, Kurzweil, he's very famous as a pop science writer. He has also predicted that this AGI or singularity will be a reality maybe in the next 20 to 30 years. Moravec says that it is 2040, and similar prediction is made by Kurzweil. Fine. So next 20, 30 years, and after that we'll see this moment of singularity. Fine. Now, naturally, as this is a matter of great global debate right now, a lot of writers, including Indian writers, have also turned to this. And although, as you know, that pop science or popular science is not very popular in India, I mean, there are not too many writers who are writing on artificial intelligence, too many scientists I'm talking about, who are writing on artificial intelligence and say its future. Even then, there are a few writers who are writing on this. But before going to that, I must mention that the four writers that I have shown you from the West, those writers are very optimistic about artificial intelligence, and they believe that AI will be good for our future, both for the future of humanity and for the future of the planet, right? And Moravec goes as far as to say that we should accept, say, a machine, a robot, an intelligent machine, or any other robot or any other kind of intelligent machine as our future progeny. I mean, we have biological child, and he says, the robot is the mind children, and that is exactly the title of the book. One of his books he have seen. But there are other, popular science writers. Stephen Hawking, as you know, who is no more, who has died. He, in fact, also predicted that singularity will be a reality, but he said, AI will challenge humans, right? And perhaps, it will push humans out of the loop. So they will take control of things. So Hawkins, and this is his last book, posthumously published. Here there are two essays on these issues, and he's talking about that. And on the right-hand side, you can see another book which has a bit different opinion. It says, a machine can never be equal to the mind, right? So machine will never, should never achieve or never be allowed to have the agency that humans have, right? Now, this is something that has also influenced Indian, writers, right? And here are some of the examples. There is only one book and few articles. Fine, you can see articles by Govinda Bhattacharjee, articles by Deepak Kohli, and very interestingly, these Indian writers, and they are scientists, writing for the people. So these are popular science writers, and they are writing in popular science magazines published by different government agencies. And what you see that they're also very optimistic, especially Kohli feels that, what is it here? So it feels that, there'll be, AI will be great for India, it will solve all the problems, and AI agency will be a welcome thing. And very importantly, if you see the last entry here, Technology Vision 2035, it is talking about, say, similar tone, and it predicts that, within 20 years we'll have these technologies and they will be very beneficial for us, for Indians. So these Indian pop science writers, they're also, very optimistic and welcoming AI and the notion that artificial intelligence, should be allowed to have their agency. Now, I think we don't have much time left. We have about 25 minutes. So I won't be taking up the whole time because I want to leave some space for questions. So you see, in India, there is not much of a popular scientific writing when it comes to artificial intelligence. But when it comes to fiction, whether it might be feature films, short films, it might be science fiction novels, science fiction stories, there are a lot of output right now. Fine. So I'll not be talking about, say, the films, but, these are some of the very, very, interesting films for me. On the left, Android, Kunjapan 5.25, a Malayalam film. On the right, Putro, a Marathi film. They're very interesting, in dealing with the notion of artificial intelligence. One deals with machine stupidity, the other deals with, the confrontation between machines and humans, and ultimately the machine is making the sacrifice. And these are other two. One is quite famous. I'll be talking about Onukula bit later on, but not of the film, but of the story. And then this is what's a web series, OK Computer, which is very interesting because it talks about machine agency and the problems, especially the legal and the ethical problems, problems of responsibility attribution, etc. and etc. But let it be. I don't want to talk about them right now. Now, when it comes to fictions, a lot of fictions are being written, right? A lot of fictions are being written, and to briefly introduce them, the immortal King Rao is not about, say, a robot, but it's about an algorithm, particularly an algorithm that assumes godlike authority and controls, in a sense, every human decision. So here you see human decision making is completely taken over by machines, and it's an old order which it results in an old order which you can define as dystopian. Fine. Chosen Spirit by Shamit Basu, he has written a lot on artificial intelligence or, the recent technologies or technological developments. It's about surveillance capitalism, automation and surveillance capitalism. So once again, taking the dystopian tar, fine. Then if we go forward a bit, we have Machinehood here by S.B. Divya. He's an Indian American writer. And Divya's take is very interesting because Divya is, thinking of not exactly of, purely of, say, a mecha being or purely of artificial intelligence, but she is thinking of a combination of the biological and the mechanical, of the organic and the artificial together. And she's looking at that as the future of mankind, because as the novel depicts that it helps us. These technologies help us overcome different problems that humanity actually is suffering from at the moment. The machine learning is the machine is learning. It's a very interesting novel by Tonu Cholanki, and it takes up another matter. I mean, how automation leads to conflict between humans and machines when it comes to employment. I mean, how humans in a country like India are losing over to machines due to automation. So as AI assumes agency, humans are losing their ground. Fine. Now, apart from these novels, there are multiple other novels. Fine. I have not read them all. I have read a few of them. I have referred to some of them here. Now, recently I have also been reading some collections of short stories, and there are multiple short fictions which makes Indian and South Asian short fictions which have interesting texts actually when it comes to the machine question. Fine. The first one is, as I have mentioned here, Ramu and the Robot. It's a kind of children's story published by the National Book Trust of India. It's an illustrated story written for the children where you see a robot going row, right? And it's a autonomous machine, autonomous robot, but it malfunctions, and the malfunction generates danger for the humans, right? And Ramu, the child, using human intelligence, is able to avoid being killed, fine. And there is this story by Ray from the 1980s, Onukul, which is very interesting. I would like to talk about it in some detail, but I don't think we have that much time left. Now, Onukul is very interesting for the matter that, what you see in Onukul, in Ray's story, Onukul is an intelligent machine, an android that is hired by a businessman named Nikunj, right? And there is, in the domestic space, there is a conflict over, say, certain issues, and Onukul kills an uncle of Nikunjo Babu. Fine. Now, the interesting question that the story raises is that, yes, the machine assumes agency, the machine is allowed agency, but the machine has also rights within the discourse of the story, if you look at the narrative. But the interesting question is, it raises issue of responsibility attribution, of accountability, of, say, the question is, the machine kills a human, commits homicide. So whether the machine will be punishable for it, whether the machine will be held accountable for it. So these legal and ethical issues connected to machine agency is very interestingly raised by Ray in Onukul. And this has been turned into a short film by Sujay Ghosh, which many of you might have watched or you might watch later on, fine? Now, another story that I would like to refer to is Almost Human, and written by K. Kasan Khalid. She is a Pakistani writer who now lives in, I think, Saudi Arabia. And I just recently read it in the second Golan's book of South Asian fiction, where you see a first generation robot, right, is hired by a detective, by a policeman, as a detective, you can say, to solve a murder, right, a case of homicide. Now, what you see in the story that this machine, dissociates or disconnects itself from the human, say, agents, and it starts acting on its own. And not only that, it has its own notion of justice and own notion of delivering justice, right? So it goes on a killing spree, killing those who are guilty, fine. So, and then he starts by killing the murderer, fine, for which she is hired, fine. Now, interestingly, once again, this almost human machine, who is given the name of NCH 005 in the story, is not completely a machine. Once again, it's a hybrid, right? It preserves the brain. I mean, the machine is constituted both, say, with organic as well as with artificial materials, organic and artificial intelligence, because the brain of all of the, say, very good police officers, female police officers, is in fact incorporated within the machine. Fine. Lastly, I have another story just briefly to talk about is robot number SC by 5, sorry, S by C5, right? This is a story by a Gujarati Dalit writer Nirav Patel, and that is translated into English by Gopika Jadeja. It's a very interesting story because it is set in the context of the caste conflict or the caste discrimination in the Indian society, fine? Now, what you see in this story is that S by C5, after a point of time, refuses to go by the orders of its masters, who are Brahmins, right? The story actually can be read as a kind of allegory of the conflict between the Brahmins and the Shudras, the lower class people. I mean, that is how the story is written, right? But we can just, for the moment, forget about that allegory or, that symbolism. We can just think of how the machine defies the humans, and the machine goes on saying that it has been your time, the time of the humans so far, but we are the new creation, right? And it also borrows from the Indian mythology of, say, reincarnation or avatars, right? So we will take over from now on from the humans, right? So we are not to be commanded because we are better than you, right? So here once again the machine assumes agency on its own and defies the authority of the human, right? Now, say, let us have some conclusive remarks, I think, because I want to leave out at least 10 minutes for the Q&A. Okay. Now, if we consider the fiction, especially the films or the novels or the short stories, right? Then what are the things that the narrative discourse or kind of discourse the narratives are creating, right? I was trying to make a summary of that. So first, what do you see that machine agents are presented as unreliable, stupid, right, or unruly. And most of the times their wings are nipped or they are destroyed, right? So the machine agents are not allowed to have agency, right? When they assume agency, in most cases, they're being destroyed, right? They're made defunct. Secondly, machine agency is presented as a kind of threat to the humans, as a threat to humanity. 2 of the 4 stories, short stories that I have referred to, we see that humans are dying at the hands of the robots. And Ramu avoids being killed, right? Thirdly, what do you see that human agency and control, especially human agency and control, is threatened. The humans are pushed out of the loop. There are 2 approaches when it comes to the AI. One is, how to handle artificial intelligence. There is one very humanist approach that humans should be in the loop, and that is what Stephen Hawking is talking about. And there are people like Ajwal, Moravec who are talking about that there is no necessity of control. Humans should let it go free, right? Now, what these stories and the novels are indicating or showing in most cases is that humans are pushed out of the loops, right? And sometimes the machines are assuming, say, God-like authority. They're playing God, especially if you think, say, of the immortal King Rao, or if you think of the last story that we have been talking about, and multiple other texts are there where machines, becomes God-like, right? Fourth conclusive remark that I wanted to make is that in most of the stories, most of the narratives that you see, they are not majorly talking about the other non-humans. I mean, the non-human animals, plants, or the environment, right? They're not talking about that. But when you look at the narratives, then you see that it's not only a kind of technological dystopia, but it's also a sort of environmental dystopia that they present. So it's kind of dystopic natural world, right? Where in many cases there is no nature. I mean, in the sense of the world of flora and fauna is lost, right? So it's such a kind of old apocalyptic future that you see. But there is no deliberation as such as to the role of artificial intelligence or the role of technology, say in shaping this dystopian future. I mean, whether technology had any role, right? So this connection between technology and ecology, and thereby this question of the non-human agency of, is relatively neglected. They are only talking about the human and the robot, but not about the other non-human. So that's a bit problematic for me. Next, I think the fifth conclusive point for me is that if you look at the stories, most of the stories are, say, in the narrative scheme, or you see there is this dualistic logic is dominating the narrative, right? Binaries persist, in other words. Machines are either subordinate to the humans or to human intelligence, or they are better than human intelligence. So there is this binary is created. We don't see any horizontal axis, right? Machines and other forms of intelligence, I mean, machines and humans are not the only form of intelligence living on the planet. So there are other forms of intelligence as well. So we don't see, these different forms of intelligence on a transversal axis or on a transversal relationship, right? So they turn into either humanist narratives or a kind of, say, post-humanist, not post-humanist, rather transhumanist narratives, right? So that element of post-human philosophy or the post-human approach that if we look for that in these narratives, in most cases we will be disappointed. So naturally, these machines, these narratives, fails to, say, deal with the first form of agency that we have been talking about, the new materialist understanding of agency as intraactive. Okay, so this intraactive agency is something that intraactive intelligence is something, or what James Bridle in the book that you see here, Ways of Being, talks about collaborative intelligence. This collaborative planetary intelligence as an idea is missing. Fine. No. To conclude, give me 2 more minutes and I am concluding. Fine. So to conclude, what I have been thinking that why this failure? I mean, on part of the fictional writers, on part of the filmmakers, why this failure to say, imagine a non-binary, a non-dualistic, an interactive, say, world order, fine? An egalitarian, say, in the sense of post-human egalitarian world order, or what Bruno Latour calls the cosmopolitical, a cosmopolitical world order, fine? Not cosmopolitan, I mean, it's a different kind of politics. I'll be talking about in the Q&A if necessary, fine? Now, why this failure? Now, one, idea that we can consider in this regard, I want all of you to consider, because I have been thinking on these lines for some times now, that is it because we are walking within a humanist episteme? Fine. The framework of knowledge, the framework of understanding within which we are walking is today dominantly humanist. And therefore, is it because of this that we cannot envisage, think, or create a post-human world order, building on a notion of agency that is different from the humanist understanding of agency, right? Is it that we need to embrace the more radical turn of new materialism and completely do away with the humanist notion of agency? Is that, the need of the time? Secondly, I have also been thinking, that when you think of artificial intelligence, AI, you know that AI is a simulation, a simulacrum, right? It's created in the imitation of the human, how the human mind, how the human brain works, right? So if that is the case, then the machine becomes a sort of, in the machine, what happens, the human form of intelligence is getting imitated, right? So what I've been thinking, borrowing from James Biddle's book, that is can we think of, say, of diversifying our notion of intelligence? Whether we can think of diversifying our notion of intelligence, which will help us to diversify our notion of agency, right? And whether this diversifying can help us to highlight, say, the overlooked intelligence in nature, such as, animals, plants, fine? And understanding their complexity, or revealing their complexity, might help us to rethink and redefine agency in non-realistic terms. Fine? It might help us to reshape our technologies, it might help us to reshape our societies. In fact, it might help us to reshape, say, our politics. We can become cosmopolitical by that way. Fine? So I think I should stop here, and thank you so much for your patience. I know that online things are very, very boring and very difficult to keep attention, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for that truly insightful and wonderfully stimulating presentation. Your critical exploration of artificial intelligence and its complex relationship with agency has given us a tremendous amount to reflect upon. We will now move to the question and answer session. The floor is now open for questions.
Yeah, so without any inhibition, you can go on asking if you have any questions. There is no issue.
Sir, there is a question in chat box. Shall I read it, sir?
In the chat box.
Yes. So the question is from Anjali Paul. Hello, sir. Would you categorize the immortal King Rao, chosen spirits, and the machine is learning are the short fiction as transhumanist or posthumanist texts? Are there any texts that can be considered completely posthumanist?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. As I have been telling you, that say most of these narratives are humanist. Fine, they're not even transhumanist. Why I'm calling them most of these narratives is humanist? Because you see that most of these narratives are written from a humanist point of view. It's the philosophy of humanism, or it's the philosophy of enlightenment humanism that dominates the narrative. Now, why I am saying this, there is another reason for this, that why I'm calling them humanist. Because if you think of transhumanism as a discourse, fine, I think you have some knowledge of, transhumanism as well. If you think of transhumanism as a discourse, then transhumanism actually builds on enlightenment humanism, fine, or the Renaissance humanism. So, and what happens, the humanist desire, right? The humanist desire that you see in the Renaissance humanist discourses or the Enlightenment humanist discourses, those humanist desires, or you can say that those human ambitions, are now getting connected to technology, right? So technology becomes a tool to transcend the limits of the human, right? So transhumanism for me is, is typically a humanist discourse, right? It builds upon humanism, fine, and it has that same logic of dualism, of distinguishing the human from the non-human, right? From greater intelligent people from the less intelligent people, and similar such binaries and distinctions are there. So most of these narratives are humanist, and yes, you can say transhumanist in the sense, I would like to use a term apocalyptic AI. Perhaps you might have heard of the book of this term apocalyptic AI. Apocalyptic, obviously, you have heard of the book, heard of the term. But apocalyptic AI actually is a transhumanist, say, configuration of AI, where artificial intelligence helps you to transcend what we could not transcend so far, right? Means the limits of the body. Fine, if you think of the Christian apocalypse or the apocalypse in Judaism or in Islam, in Hindu theology there is a different way of thinking. This is because here we have reincarnation, right? So, but there, this apocalypse, Christian apocalypse or Judaic apocalypse, they're drawing on that, and they're thinking, what technology is, or AI is giving them an opportunity to go beyond that, apocalypse. Fine, it helps them to create a new world, a new future, because so this apocalyptic AI is something that you see in some of the narratives. Fine, especially if you think of the web series OK Computer, but yes, to some extent transhumanist, but to a great extent humanist. Now, if you think of post-humanist, I mean, none of those stories I have referred to can be properly defined as post-humanist, except perhaps if you think of, S.V. Dibia's novel, Machinehood, fine? Machinehood is, because it is thinking of creating an egalitarian order, fine? Egalitarian order, but once again, this world is a dystopic world. This is a natural dystopia, or it's an environmental dystopia. So you don't find the non-humans, but the thrust of the novel is to have an egalitarian order, and a sort society which is egalitarian in nature. Fine. So it is, you can define it post-humanist to some extent. You can also call that novel, short story by the Gujarati writer, to some extent taking or say partaking in the post-human term, but for me, I can't call them even post-humanist. I hope I have adequately answered your question. Is there any other question?
Sir, there is one more question.
Okay.
Since AI is built as a simulation of human intelligence, is it condemned being modeled after human intelligence? Isn't that affecting the notion of agency within the mission? Sir, wait a minute, I skipped the question. Since AI is built as a simulation of human intelligence, is it condemned to reproduce anthropocentrism? How do you see the potential for AI to evolve non-human forms of cognition that break away from the imitation?
Yes, thank you for the question. Who is this?
Prasad, sir.
Prashad, thank you. That's a very interesting question, and that is where I ended. Fine. So you see, when we're talking about AI as simulation of the human mind, of the human brain, of the human intelligence, obviously this, that is why I said this problem of anthropocentrism is there. Fine. But think that, but also think that it's the AI, we don't know whether the AI can transcend this anthropocentrism. Fine, because it's not the human brain, it's a machine brain, it's a machine intelligence. Fine. And if the machine is learning, to borrow the title of Solanki's book, you perhaps know a bit about machine learning. One of the ways the machine learns in different ways, and one of the ways machine learns, what we define as reinforcement learning, right? The machine learns on the go. So the machine is now learning, the AI is now learning. So we don't know what the future holds, right? So if there is possibility of a post-anthropocentric, say, intelligence, then it is very difficult to happen with the humans. But it might happen with the machines, number one. Number two is, see, if we say make the other form of intelligence, right? The other form of intelligence as part of machine learning, right? Which we have been ignoring. I mean, even we don't consider other form of intelligence as intelligence. And that is what James Bridle is talking about in the book. So if other form of intelligence, other form of agencies, right, becomes other form of agentic reality become parts of machine learning, then we don't know what is going to happen. Right? So I have read stories, say, I have encountered films where, machine turns out to be, more, say, egalitarian, and machines are moving beyond the anthropos and anthropocentrism than humans. Right? So in the fictional imagination, at least, we have such futures. Right? So maybe I'll be very optimistic, or I'll hope rather that happens. Fine. I would expect that to happen than not to happen, because we need to move beyond the logic of anthropocentrism. Fine. We need to displace this anthropos from the privilege center, at least, for now. Yeah. Any other question?
So there is a question from Shubhangini Jana. As the AI is being modeled after human intelligence, isn't that affecting the notion of agency within the mission? Even if the machine gains agency, is it true agency? When the notion of agency in the machine is heavily modeled after humanist ideas of agency.
Okay, Shubhagni, it's once again a very interesting question, and I have partly answered this question while answering the the previous question. Fine, I have partly answered your question, but yes, obviously, that's true. I mean, that anthropocentrism that we are talking about, it's there, and it's true that machine will replicate the human agency, right? But you see, recently I just saw, I think a film has been made recently. I didn't have the opportunity to watch it yet, but where there is this mention of this idea that the machine is like a child, right? So when you're teaching a machine, the machine is like a child, and yes, if you consider, I mean, if you just think of the theory of the tabula rasa, right? The child's mind is a blank slate, and if the AI mind is a blank slate, then obviously you can write on that, you can control that. But as the mind grows, the mind will have its own opinion. The mind will have, construct its own ideas and notions, just as you have seen in the case of that ChatGPT example. Nobody, in fact, taught ChatGPT to lie, but ChatGPT-4 devised its own, strategy to solve a problem, and it lied, very interestingly and very, very effectively, I mean, to solve the issue at hand. So if we have a mind, if you have intelligence, then your intelligence might not always go by the learning that you had, fine? But if we think that of machine intelligence in a very mechanical sense, then we can say that it's a problem. But we don't know that whether machine intelligence might, transform itself into something else. Fine. So that would be my tentative answer. We have to wait and watch how it transforms itself, how it pans out. Fine. Yeah. Any other question?
So there is a question from Marietta. You talked about AI is taking agency and human agency is deflating. If survival of the fittest is the agenda, if the surpassing of AI intelligence is inflating, we will humans become extinct. Given that AI knows all group ways like in Harari video, are you optimistic or pessimistic?
It's very interesting. I mean, and very difficult question to answer. You see, the thing is, Stephen Hawking, you have heard of him. I referred to his book in my lecture. Stephen Hawking had the opinion that AI is the end of the human. Fine? That AI will bring a doom to mankind. That is his opinion. And there are many others who are thinking in that line. But what I would like to mention is that, see, if you think of the human as a species, we are the human species, then in the planetary order, there might be some intelligence emerging. It may be machine intelligence or might be some other form of intelligence that might challenge, or maybe some other kind of force that might challenge humans. And that might bring an end to the human species. Fine? So, The only problem is that in case of the AI, that we are building it, knowing that it might result in our doom. Fine. There have been researches on, as you know, reprogenetics, genetics, and some of the researches in biological sciences have been announced unethical, right? Especially cloning, you're familiar with, isn't it? So if the situation comes when AI will surpass human intelligence, because there is a lot of people around the world who are dealing with the ethical problems with AI research, right? So what might happen that AI research, such research, creating machines that will surpass human intelligence, might be banned, might be prohibited. See, so the ethics committees will come up with something. So I don't see personally AI bringing an end to the human, because still, even though we are thinking of AI pushing human out of the loop, even now humans are in control, right? Even humans are in control. Even in Immortal King Rao, you see that algorithm actually makes all the decisions for the humans. So in a sense becomes godlike. But there are also people like King Rao himself who created that algorithm, fine? So maybe people like King Rao will have the option to turn off, to switch it off. Fine? I think that much will do for now. Yeah.
So there is a question from Swapnajit Das. Recently, we have seen the rise of Dila as an AI minister in Albania. How can the emergence of AI ministers can change the notion of agency on national and global scale, as there is the possibility of AI turning into a more egalitarian as well as more dangerous than human agents?
Yes, interesting. And very, very interesting question, because you're just helping us to expand our thought to larger human political concerns. So you see, recently, let me tell you a story. I grew up in a small town in a suburb of Kolkata, and there is a school in that suburb which has recently employed a robot as a group D staff, right? So it's a school under the West Bengal board in a suburb in Bengal that has employed a robot as the group D staff, fine? So, and it's working fine. So, and similarly, you have in different financial organizations, and as you have cited the example of Albania and different political organizations, you have AI agents, fine? AI as members. So the thing, one very interesting, or very positive side of this is that artificial intelligence can be the container of knowledge, or huge knowledge, which as human beings we cannot carry at one moment. Naturally, when it comes to giving an opinion on something, an AI can very quickly review everything and give you a sort of summary, the possibilities, the problems, and the prospects, right? So that way, these machines becoming a part of discussions. Many of you might have discussions with ChatGPT. I often have discussion with ChatGPT, right? On different matters. I seek suggestions, and those are very interesting. Sometimes very problematic, but sometimes very interesting as well. So what happens, you see? What happens, therefore, there is this possibility, fine? Or these possibilities, positive dimensions. But if the AI, because of its superior knowledge and superior intelligence, right? If it goes raw, as you say, right? Then what will happen? It might misdirect you as well. And ChatGPT 4 was lying, so it might be lying. No, this is where this is something that if you watch Sujay Ghosh's movie based on Raid's story Onukul, the same title, you'll see this. I mean, this problem that the intelligence, artificial intelligence agent Onukul there starts considering his own benefit, right? So if the machine starts considering its or his or her own benefit, then what, right? So that might be an issue in the say in the longer future. But for now, I think machines might play a very positive role. Very positive role, be it conflict resolution, be it dealing with financial matters, fine, interstate matters, political matters. They can be very good advisors. But you cannot take the knowledge of the machine as of now, say at face value. You also have to have the human intelligence assessing the machine knowledge of the machine summaries. That is what I would say.
Yes, sir. There is one more question by Namanita Roy. If there are remnants of Enlightenment, humanism, and post-humanist, then at best we should accept there is no way out of it, and every post-humanist discourse is infected and infested with human mind.
Yes, Navanita, very interesting question, and this is something that we have been talking about for long. I mean, for long means not in this session, but in different other sessions on different other platforms. We often face this question that whether there is any way out. Fine, and people say that we are using the word post-humanism. Fine, so except for post, we have human and we also have ism. So there is a residue of humanism in post-humanism. Obviously, you can say so. There is a residual humanism, right? You can say that, but and obviously it's the humans, right? It's the humans. It's not yet the robots. It's not yet that the cow or the goat or the plant, that is thinking. It is we humans are thinking. We humans are trying to think beyond humanism, right? And the question is whether we can think beyond humanism. I think that we can think beyond humanism. We might not be able to think beyond the human, in the sense that human will somewhat lurk in our discourses. Human will play their role. But what posthumanism is trying to do, that what posthumanism is trying to do, it is trying to say, not to reject human, right? Human as a biological being, human as a social being. What it is trying to do then? It is trying to say, depart from humanism as a discourse, especially Enlightenment humanism, right? Because say, the structures of inequalities in the human and the planetary order is something that, say, is premised on Enlightenment humanism. So, post-humanism is a post-anthropocentric turn in philosophy, obviously in human philosophy, isn't it? So it is trying to think beyond the human, but not, it is never trying to think in terms of rejecting the human. So therefore the human will always be there, fine. But we are trying to get to a kind of different old order, rather I would say different planetary order. We are trying to think of a different planetary order, fine, a more egalitarian planetary order. We are not thinking of a more egalitarian human order alone. The kind of egalitarian planetary order that if you have read Shelley's Prometheus Unbound, where there is a revolution, and this revolution is more philosophical than, say, physical or political, and that revolution brings about a new planetary order, where there is this, you can say there is no agency, or everyone or everything is an agent, fine? Everybody or everything is her or his own king, fine? So an order like that. So you can say that this is utopian, but this is the utopia that the post-humanists are running after, fine? So it is a pursuit, you can say it is a pursuit of the impossible. That is how I look at it. It is a process of becoming, not it is a process of being. So it is a pursuit of the impossible for me. I hope I have answered your query.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you for answering all the questions patiently, sir. Let's go to the vote of thanks, sir. On behalf of the Department of English of SRM Institute of Science and Technology, I would like to extend our most sincere and heartfelt gratitude to Dr. M.D. Monirul Islam for gracing us with his time and profound insights today. Sir, your lecture on artificial intelligence and the questions of agency was intellectually rigorous and perfectly aligned with the core debates of our workshop. We are immensely grateful for the clarity and the critical perspective you brought to such a complex topic. In particular, we thank you for the lucidly explaining concepts like the distributed agency and clarifying the crucial distinction between AI, AGI, ASI, and the singularity. Your session has enriched our understanding and will fuel discussion for days to come. I was also like to extend a warm thank you to all our participants. Your thoughtful questions and active engagement have made this session a truly interactive and successful one. Finally, a special thank to our organizing committee. We are grateful to Dr. K. Shantichitra, professor and the member of the organizing committee, for our unwavering support. Our deepest gratitude goes to our HOD and the entire English department for their vision and tireless effort in making today's session possible. We look forward to seeing you all for the day 5 of our workshop tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, and have a very pleasant evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Suryakanth, and thank you each and every participant. With your questions, you made the session lively, and as pointed out by the organizers, you can email me your queries if necessary. Okay, so thank you. A very good day, and Suryakanth, thank you to all for all the hard work that you have done so far in coming.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Our pleasure, sir. Thank you.